no stranger to the Learning Channel, and if you are a regular viewer or have been of my channel for a while, neither are you a stranger to the Learning Channel. I'm trying to piece this together here. You see, I've made 28 videos involving TLC, the Learning Channel. Welcome to the second episode of The World's Strictest Parents, my favorite show on TLC. In today's episode of The World's Strictest Parents, that's like 1%. It's not, it's like 0.25% of all the videos that I've made. But still, the point remains that I know a lot about it, and if you've been watching my channel for a long time, you know that we love the Learning Channel on this channel because we love learning. Or do we? Because the last thing I've ever done when watching anything from the Learning Channel is learn!
I have been collecting belly button lint for the last 15 years of my life.
I've laughed, for sure. All right, I've absolutely laughed.
I am still a virgin.
Oh no. However, today we will all be looking at and hopefully laughing at the Learning Channel Iceberg to see some of the craziest shit to ever air on that channel. By the way, a channel intended for learning.
Look, I didn't do nothing yet. Look, it's already cracked.
You're not putting up. I did exactly what you told me.
This is not even. Look in the middle.
There's really no need to yell.
It's the Learning Channel! At the tippy top of the TLC Iceberg, we have the incredibly popular show, Dr. Pimple Popper.
Just the sheer size of the tumor, it's completely blocking his nasal passage.
A TV show that premiered on January 3rd, 2018 and has been running strong for 9 seasons, with the last season airing on April 5th, 2023. It's hosted by a woman named Dr. Sandra Lee, a licensed dermatologist who's been posting pimple-popping content online for years. And she really blew up with the use of short-form social media shitposting. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Though the title of the show is centered around pimple popping, the show deals with so much more than that. Because she is a licensed dermatologist, she gets to deal with all sorts of moles.
So let me take a look with the light here, okay? I got my little magnifier here. Yeah, there, you can see what's called follicular plugs. There's like all these little dots in some of them.
Growths.
Well, you must be here for this bump behind your neck here, huh?
Yep.
How long have you had that?
I think I first noticed it around 2008.
Anything fun related to the human skin.
How many do you have? I see 2. Any
3
others?
big ones.
Okay, now I see more.
And with my body, one thing I have learned is that the most fun you can have with your body is with moles and growths that come off of your skin. You ever wonder what would happen if you just tossed your Vapenheimer out of an airplane-enheimer? Well, you're gonna wanna find out once you've tried Fume. Not that you should ever open a door to an airplane while it's in flight, of course. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device that is leading the movement towards better habits. I've got one right here. I have that black licorice flavor in it. It's my last pod. They sent me more, and I've used them all. Fume is not vape. It draws flavor into your mouth. It's fun to fidget with. You can use it anywhere. It's genuinely just a cool little thing that is optional. Plus the fidgeting thing. I like that a lot. I fidget with it all day long until eventually I have to actually get myself to stop. I said there's a licorice flavor. That's pretty cool. There's also spearmint flavors, orange vanilla. It's one of my favorite flavors. Cinnamon hearts, black pepper. It's honestly just cool. I really don't know what else to say about it. Go to the link down below, tryfume.com/Oompaville. Scan the QR code, use code Oompaville. Get a free Fume base when you order the Journey Pack today. It's completely awesome. Once again, for a limited time, use code Oompaville. Go to tryfume.com/Oompaville or scan the QR code today to get a free Fume base when you order the Journey Pack today. Join over 300,000 satisfied customers today and discover the better alternative to a habit with Fume. This show grew to such popularity that it even had a spin-off show created in 2020 called Dr. Pimple Popper Before the Pop, which is a terrible name. That is absolutely a terrible name. That is a ass name. That's like an AI name. But in this show, Dr. Sandra Lee video calls with people and does some telehealth and works with them to deal with pimples over the computer because they can't come to the office due to COVID.
To maybe have like the neck, but the neck could be like over 100 of them in that area.
Before the Pop only lasted until Dr. Lee could return to her office. So it makes sense, right? Because it's like, why would you ever do the telehealth thing unless you have to?
You look pretty good to me. What do you got going on? You got things hiding?
Yeah, they're all back here. It's all behind the hair.
Oh, I see.
But anyways, the show was interesting. Some of the popular moments on the show include a man with large growths on his nose that she helps diagnose and remove, a man with a gigantic cyst on his leg, which she removes, a man with a massive lump on his jaw that she removes.
I think she's done a good job. I don't think I'm gonna have much of a scar there.
All of these clips on YouTube have millions upon millions of views, and each episode lasts 42 minutes. There's 2 to 3 patients, meaning that they can post 2 to 3 10-minute videos on YouTube for each show. Now, it's the Learning Channel. It's TLC. With a show hosted by a medical professional covering medical mysteries, does the viewer actually learn anything, or is it purely just for entertainment, guys? With each patient, she tries to explain the patient's medical condition and what it takes to treat it.
Dr. Osborne is taking a tube with a camera to be able to see down into Roger's windpipe, and once he sees there's an opening to his lungs, he's gonna pass a tube that contains oxygen to be able to supply his lungs so that we can breathe for Roger.
And it's a hard watch sometimes. I'm gonna be honest, this show is weird. Then she shows most of the process in curing of the ailment, or whether that's surgery or some kind of numbing of the area and draining of whatever massive postural cysts these people have on their bodies. I've never had a cyst. How common is that?
I've never had a pimple that needs to get popped by a doctor. Is that normal?
I didn't even know that was a thing until this bitch started popping shit and squirting it all over the internet. What the hell? So yeah, maybe you could learn a thing or two from Dr. Pimple Popper. It does seem that Dr. Pimple Popper offers some form of educational elements to the show while also being relatively entertaining, depending on how rotten your brain is. I don't know if it takes a rotten brain to think that popping pimples is cool, but comment down below, I guess. I've never met anybody who's like, oh yeah, let me watch Dr. Sandra pop some pimples. There's one right there. Dr. Sandra also acts as a bit of a shill for skin products and routines and things like that, which is pretty cool. Love a good shill.
Just cleanse, treat, and moisturize twice a day using my SLMD acne system, and watch those clinically proven ingredients work for you.
She's got her own line, which she has her own separate YouTube channel for, and she uses her brand named Dr. Pimple Popper as a way to direct people to buy her products, which is awesome. You know, it's like you make the TV show, you make the product, boom, that's how you make the money, right? Guys and girls, that reminds me.
Go to sour.gg and buy yourself some Sour Boys candy today. We make this in-house in Texas. Please, for the love of God, buy it. We're running out.
Anyways, Pimple Popper really kind of hammers home the point that TLC is not focused on educational elements of even shows that could potentially be educational, like the Dr. Pimple Popper show, because it's trained medical professionals doing their thing, you know? They just want entertainment and products to tie in their shows, and they just happen to be called the Learning Channel. That's why this iceberg is fun in the first place, because it's so ironic and funny. You wait until we get to the bottom. This shit is insane. The TLC Iceberg goes deep. Another popular level 1 show is a show called Cake Boss.
She goes, she grabs the piping bags and starts squirting my cake.
A show hosted by a guy named Buddy.
You come into my bakery, you squirt old icing all over this cake, you know.
Buddy Velastro. It's set up inside of a bakery, and it originally premiered on April 19th, 2009, so it is a long-standing Learning Channel show. Cake Boss also has been renewed on and off for 9 seasons until it officially concluded on April 11th, 2020. COVID, rest in peace. Each of these Cake Boss episodes had approximately a 22-minute read time, and within each episode, Buddy and his family made edible art for someone in the form of a cake, because he's the Cake Boss. He's the level 100 Cake Boss. Guy is a pimp. He looks like he makes cakes for a living. Cake Boss also had some other main characters on the show, aside from Buddy, his wife, Lisa, a fella named Joey Fuagno.
You know, he's a little bit of a hothead. When push comes to shove, he knows what the boss is.
Mauro Castano.
My brother-in-law, I would say he's my right-hand man.
And Frankie Amato Jr. Frankie? Hello?
Little Frankie, he's family. I mean, he's my cousin. I'm godfather to his daughter.
However, there are over 20 other fucks that have appeared on Cake Boss or have been a part of the show in some way or another. The show, by the way, immensely popular after its release. You've probably heard some very regular people talking about it on a consistent basis for a few years, sort of Duck Dynasty level of people, but instead of being from the South, they're from the North, I guess, 'cause they've got cake instead of duck. I really don't know, man. Peking duck, that's some Chinese shit. What the fuck? Season 1 of Cake Boss was incredibly popular and averaged 2.3 million views per episode, which is like a really good episode of Cold Ones. So it's really not that popular, but it's, you know, for TV, it's pretty good. TV sucks nowadays. Subsequent seasons retained nearly those views. Most of those views, at least 1 million per episode for most episodes. Massive show, huge deal, a lot of cake, very nice.
This thing looked awesome. It was a life-size piano cake, baby.
Something a little interesting that you probably would expect is the real-life bakery, which the show is based on and around, was located in Hoboken, New Jersey. It brought in thousands of visitors to the city and was so popular that in 2010, the corner in which it was located at renamed to Carlos Bakery Way in honor of the bakery's centennial. What? That's crazy. They renamed a fucking street because of Cake Boss. The Learning Channel strikes again. What does it mean? We have no idea. Our buddy Velastro has also made millions of dollars off this TV show, and this can be seen from his mega mansion that he's bought. He's like the Hassan Piker of baking. On his bakery's website, where he more than likely makes millions of dollars there as well, based on the wide range of products that he sells and the prices he charges, it's pretty similar to what Dr. Pimple Popper does. You use famous entertainment IP to make money. No learning, very little learning. Maybe with cake, you could learn some cake stuff by watching it. So like there's a bit of an argument to be said, but by no means are either one of these shows in any way related to learning. Buddy's house is so big that he has a bowling alley in the basement. That is so just Northeastern. It's just such a Northeast person thing to do. I'm from Virginia, so I'm like well aware of Northeastern people. From Appalachia, TBF. Smash like, okay guys. In a more unfortunate turn, this bowling alley is the place where Buddy would get seriously injured trying to fix the pin machine.
This piece slides into here. You can see, and his hand got pinned up against here, right in here, like that. And
his hand was
right here, and this part went right through, like that.
Which led, fortunately, to a spin-off TV show called Buddy Velastro, Road to Recovery. It was an hour-and-a-half long TV special that detailed his recovery back to health. TLC and Buddy are doing everything they possibly can to try to keep the Cake Boss IP alive and well, and let's not forget, monetizable and stuff. By no means is that the only spinoff, though. There's multiple spinoff shows, including the Next Great Baker.
We're all here competing for the title of Next Great Baker,
which has people competing for cash prizes and an apprenticeship in Carlos's bakery by creating the best cake or trying to figure out how to create the best cake.
You guys have 8 hours to make 4-foot-tall Christmas-themed cakes for my family's Christmas party.
Another show is just called Kitchen Boss. It's Buddy showing off his family recipes. What the fuck?
I'm getting hot and spicy in the kitchen today.
Guy has a show about his family recipes? Who is this guy? This guy's a damn genius. Then there's the third spinoff show called Buddy's Bakery Rescue, which is a similar format to Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares.
Quality of your food is inconsistent. You got way too many products here.
I disagree with you.
It's very important for Tom to listen now, because if he doesn't, I don't know that we'll make it.
If you don't stop making all this stuff every day, you're gonna be out of business.
The show also had cookbooks that Buddy wrote. Baking with the Cake Boss is one of them. 100 of Betty's best recipes and decorating secrets of Cake Boss. Cake Boss, stories and recipes from Mia Famiglia. Funnily enough, according to a heat map of the amount of Facebook likes on the Cake Boss official Facebook page and hashtags, especially, I'm sure it's hashtags, Appalachia is a big fan of the Cake Boss. Ah, he runs in my family. I mean, this is the type of shit we consume. All right, guys, back in Appalachia. I'm Central Texas now. I'm a dairy country, okay? I'm in milk country, bud. Cowboy country. Used to be from pawpaw countries up there. They get pawpaw fruit up there. What really seemed to make this show popular was just the insane cakes that they produced on the show.
Ta-da!
Yeah, I love this.
Looks like a good taco, huh?
For example, a coffin cake made for a Halloween party.
So the vampires get Danny laid on his final resting place.
They made this cake for a group of people who believed that they were sanguine individuals, sanguinophage individuals, vampires! The cake even had hydraulics that squirted out blood out of the neck of the thing. It's crazy. And Buddy and his family are just standing on the hill overlooking the whole ordeal in some awkward stances, looking like nervous, weird middle schoolers going through puberty at a dance and calling the people who he made the cake for weirdos.
What a bunch of weirdos.
It's actually funny, dude. Weird. There's also this epic cake that was made for a teen girl's Sweet 16 that fell down the stairs. The cake fell because the people carrying it didn't know how to carry heavy objects downstairs, and Buddy's stomping around like a child barking orders. He's like some kind of infant man. It's very odd watching him upset.
Did you do?
It's Danny's fault.
This is for today.
I told him I had to reposition my hand, and he pushes the cake towards me.
Bring the thing inside.
Another cake gets ruined by one of Buddy's bastard cousins.
These sheets that Anthony baked are a mess.
And the show highlights the drama by bringing everybody into the shot and standing back. Some of them acting look phoned in. So bad. Seems like cousin Anthony's the main catalyst for drama on the show, though. This guy is a massive piece of shit. All right. I say we find him on Facebook, and then we give him a real heat map. What do you say, army of Oompa villains? Let's not actually do that. That's harassment. I'm gonna poke him on Facebook. Another large cake gets dropped. They like dropping cakes. This shit makes my palms sweat a little bit.
Listen, this cake is from my cousin and my sister-in-law. Okay, you guys filled it like my you-know-what. It looks like crap. I'm busy working on this cake. What do I gotta babysit?
This and watching people climb around on buildings from great heights, I don't like that shit. It makes my palms sweat. Also, watching people carry cakes and drop them, apparently.
Would you put that camera down?
This cake was intended for a family member's wedding. There's just a lot of dramatic music and screaming and one-on-one interviews with our old pal Buddy.
Hey, shut up with the noise! Hey, shut up with the shut up! You shut up with the shut up! Shut up your face! Now am I a dog? I wanna shut up! Why you know I shut up? I make you shut up! You shut up! Hey, I poke out of my head!
They do a great job of consistently amplifying the intensity of every single situation. It's excellent TV. Not a lot of learning.
This Vinny and Daniela cake is just a massive collaboration of people making one mistake after the other.
Let's just solve it, that's all. Come on.
Now, the show saw most of its success from the drama that went on during the filming of the show. Similar to every other reality TV show that's followed families like this or the Kardashians, Cake Boss is kind of like the Kardashians, but with cakes.
I can't believe you put this in the refrigerator! What? It's all melted!
I'm sorry.
Come on, man!
Outside of just family drama, there's a bit more larger drama. For example, right after the show began to air and gain popularity in 2010, it faced a lawsuit from a company called Masters Software Inc., which owned and operated CakeBoss.com, where they sold computer software for bakeries. No! Every time they would upload a new episode, the website would have to be shut down because of all the traffic. It's so funny. The lawsuit claimed that the producers at TLC didn't check if the domain was already checked and that the massive influx of site traffic and having to shut the website down was damaging their business. Seems like a bunch of nonsense to me. But Master Software would win the lawsuit and be able to keep their domain. But the Cake Boss TV show massively overtook it and fucking kept on going. Crazy. What a weird way to start. And the domain for the Cake Boss show was tlc.discovery.com/TV/cake-boss. And TLC, as a result of the lawsuit, had to work on their marketing to direct viewers away from the software website, which is so funny, dude. Today, the Cake Boss TV show domain can be found at https://go.tlc.com/show/cake-boss-tlc-atve-us. Anyways, it's enough Cake Boss. So, was there any educational elements to Cake Boss? Not really. Not really. All the education came from the books you had to buy, pretty much. You guess you could learn some stuff, like how to have a really unhealthy, toxic family dynamic. or whatever. That's just like being from the Northeast in general. The show is focused purely on drama and the cakes made in the Carlos's kitchen. When they were baking, they weren't really giving step-by-step instructions on how to make the cakes or anything like that. It wasn't Jamie Oliver teaching a bunch of middle-aged women how to cook. Nothing along those lines. They would sometimes talk about different design or ingredient choices, but other than that, there's no educational content. Pretty big L. TBH. You've been sleeping on that cake info. What the hell, man? Give me some of that cake info. I hate baking, to be honest. I had no idea there could be so much petty, toxic family drama within a kitchen, but by God, the producers of this show, they did, and they mastered this shit and made this one guy really rich. Get his big mega mansion. That's crazy. Seriously though, the producers of TLC shows are the masters of anarchy. Because the issues in this whole thing, how do you even come up with this? How does this happen? This can't be real. On to level 2 of the TLC iceberg. They say that nothing is certain except for death and taxes, and also getting nagged at by a goddamn rotten every single day of my whole life. What the f? Just kidding. Anyways, just because death is certain though, it doesn't mean it has to be a sad affair. TLC's 2013 show, Best Funeral Ever, tried to shine a little bit of light on a typically dark time in people's lives. That is basically what you think it's about to be. Yeah, this is a TLC show. The show follows the Golden Gate Funeral Home run by John E. Beckham Jr. in Dallas, Texas.
What was Tip's favorite game at family reunions?
Dominoes.
Tip's favorite hat.
Thank you.
Now, I want to point out, if you look up images on Google, it makes it seem like this place is a gentleman's club rather than a funeral home because of the luxury vehicles that are shown off, which is really cool because that's hilarious to think that there's a funeral home that looks like a gentleman's club when you look it up on Google. That's awesome. But before we move too far on, is the window on the pimp hearse, the window on the pimp hearse for people to see in or for dead people to see out? Let me know down below, guys, what you think. I want to know your thoughts on the pimp hearse. The show's description reads like a brochure for a funeral home trying to entice you to do business with the good people of Golden Gate. They boast about the celebrations of life and throwing unforgettable parties that reinvent the traditional funeral. They're also all themed, and each funeral tries to be unique and cool and unlike the others.
Think about it, young man.
You know, like the people that are being buried. Individuals, man. As soon as we let go of these big labels, we'll all be individuals, man. We'll all also eventually become piles of flesh, assimilated flesh, completely devoid of valuable muscular and nervous tissue. All that remains, cartilage. Cartilage, hair, teeth, nails. That will be all that remains of you and me soon. In October. I'm not gonna play dumb here. I have heard the trope that rather than viewing a funeral as a mourning of someone's passing, it should be celebration of life, right? Celebration of, you know, we lived and we all had all these great memories. You should be reliving it. Like every time I try to play Red Dead Redemption 2, I try to make it not sad. But anyways, making a show out of that with TLC as the production doesn't seem like a good idea and seems a bit unhinged. But that's how TLC is though. So it does make sense.
Today we're celebrating the life of a young man that left us too soon, Mr. Quentin Beasley.
I thank God that he's able to feed us.
So let's just start by diving into one of the funerals that they aired and see just how outlandish a reality TV show surrounding themed funeral parties exactly can be.
If you try to cook your head on, I'll put it on.
I'll do it just for you.
Well, I can't go back on my word. I'll be the cookie.
The episodes of this show are split so that each one has 2 funerals. You know, 2 human deaths in each one, guys. Huge. And each episode, approximately 20 minutes in length. It's the average TV show length. Each funeral is covered in about a 10-minute segment. So they're pretty quick, you know? They're pretty quick. I really like the following episode. An episode where a beloved pastor gets a dramatic Western-style send-off.
They're interested in a dramatic send-off. One that represents the pastor's larger-than-life personality.
Our old buddy John Beckwith Jr. sends 2 of his funeral planners, Deborah and Loretta, to meet with the family of the deceased and to get to know the loved one who will be celebrated posthumously. Hate the word posthumously. I hate saying that word. Posthumously. Posthumously.
He liked the Western shows,
Cops.
Bonanza,
Gunsmoke.
I'm a Gunsmoke, Lone Ranger.
Oh, that's my favorite, Lone Ranger.
God forbid that you delete the TV show off of the DVR. Oh my God, it was World War III in the house.
Maybe we could do a Western movie.
And this information is all they need to build an entire based in red-pilled sweet-ass funeral, I bet. Yep, we were right. That's exactly all they need. Check that out. Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. It's kind of a funny thought, though, because it's like, you know, you like those TV shows. What if you like the show Dirty Jobs or the Kardashian show? Something along those, when a Kardashian-themed funeral or a sewer-themed funeral like a goddamn rat. For a Western-themed funeral, I'd think that they maybe give themselves a window of time to accomplish this, but the staff at the Golden Gate Funeral Home only have 24 hours to make this funeral happen.
We're 24 hours away from Pastor Price's Western movie homegoing celebration. And the Golden Gate staff is hard at work. E and Kyle are writing a Western song.
It's the Wild Wild West in the dirty South. There's a new sheriff in town.
I guess it makes sense, right? You can't really plan out a funeral that far in advance. Shit's gotta happen quick before that body starts to rot, all right? Before that body starts to rot and decompose, because that's what happens. You start to rot, decompose, you get embalmed, and you're like, you start to look like fucking Joe Biden. After a while, after a couple days, you start to stink. They find a quaint historic Western town to hold the funeral at, complete with a jail, a bank, and a general store. They also have some massive plans for this short notice funeral. They want there to be a bank robbery.
Listen, we're gonna have a bank robbery.
Yeah, bank robbery.
I mean, and we're gonna have people coming in on horses.
They wanted the late pastor to participate in a shootout.
Now, this is gonna be the real kicker. The pastor's gonna be in his casket. He's actually gonna be part of the shootout. And he's gonna actually shoot the bad guy.
Sounds like you guys are passionate about it.
Yes.
That's awesome. Not exactly something a godly man would do, I wouldn't assume, but awesome nonetheless. The funeral itself, I've got to say, does come together quite nicely. They prop him up on barrels in front of the Tumbleweed Hotel, and aside from the fact that there's no chairs for those in attendance, he receives a nice eulogy.
We are here today because of our friend and our brother, Pastor Price. It was a great loss not only to our community, but to his church and to his family.
Oh, yeah.
But alas, the eulogy is cut short by a bank robbery.
And we'll be able to let everybody know that there is a friend in Jesus.
And in a crazed twist of fate, the bank robber is John E. Beckwith's Jr.'s son. Holy shit!
He robbed the bank!
The wife of the deceased gets to shoot the bank robber at her husband's funeral.
Marquetta, get him! Get him! Get him!
But celebrations of the bank robber being thwarted are cut short when another ne'er-do-well strolls into town sizing up the casket in our very special pastor, a special old man. It's a shame he's dead. He might really actually enjoy this.
We're gonna let Pastor Price handle this.
The casket gets stood up, and after a brief standoff, they draw, and the pastor wins the shootout.
Think about it, young man.
Then there's a song sung about him and his exploits, like the duel between Texas Red and the Arizona Rangers with a big iron on his hip.
He's big, he's bad, he's the best this town ever had.
With the big iron on his hip. Big iron! Old boy gets carried off into the sunset. It's pretty cool. Now, this whole event is much different from any event like this I've ever seen, but it seems fun. It is also eventful, and it includes the interests of the person being remembered and celebrates him. I think it's a W. I think it's a W. I want to give TLC as many L's as possible, but I think it's a W. Now, let's pivot to one a bit more silly. I know you guys are probably like, how the fuck is that humanly possible to pivot to one that's a bit more silly than what we just watched? Well, in another episode, the Golden Gate Funeral Home helps an Olympic athlete run down the track one last time before being laid to rest.
A tight-knit family just recently lost their loved one. and they came into Golden Gate Funeral Home to make funeral arrangements. And as it happens, the deceased is someone kind of famous.
What is his name? Ronald Ray Smith.
Ronnie Ray Smith, the winner of the gold medal for the 4x100 relay in the 1968 Summer Olympics, was being celebrated by family and friends on TLC's reality TV show, posthumously, of course, because he died. They wanted to celebrate him by seeing that he's able to run one more lap before being buried.
All right, so it's obvious. We need to do a track and field homegoing service for Mr. Ronnie Smith.
So how's that possible? Well, I'll try my best to I'm just gonna show you and try to explain it. The Golden Gate Funeral Home is working with a bit more time this go around, with 48 hours to plan the funeral for Ronnie Ray Smith. Sorry, I was yawning, but I didn't want to stop. I just have a lot that I need to get off my chest, okay? The first plan that the Golden Gate Bros attempt is to put out tarps and make them slick so they can push it up and down like it's a slip and slide. They nearly fall and drop the casket just trying to get it onto the tarp.
This thing is working. This is crazy. We've got it.
I would love to be a passerby driving by this funeral home and seeing this happen. I'd be like, oh, there's probably a guy in that. I certainly hope there's not, especially not 1968 4x100 relay winner Ronnie Smith. Now, try to guess the next option given what we know so far. If you guess trying to build a frame around a go-kart so they can place the casket on top of it, then you guessed correctly.
We got the go-kart from a garage sale. We built this frame. The casket goes on top of the frame, made sure everything is stabilized. Here we go.
This ends up being the method that they go with. Very cool. We're only level 2 down the TLC Iceberg, by the way. Just in case you were wondering, we're not that far in. It's still, there's a lot more to go. There's quite a bit of flame. There's quite a bit of heat left in this old bitch. Oh, sexy motherfucker. Bitch. For the service itself, they have a lighting of the Olympic flame by a man that is completely painted gold. And then after a eulogy for Ronnie Ray Smith, they load the casket on top of the go-kart build that has a little window cut out for the driver. And then they fly around the track. Casket doesn't fly off around turns. It all works out perfectly. And Ronnie wins the race. The big race. He won the big race at the inception of life and is out of his father's ball sack, and he won the big race going out thanks to the Golden Gate Bros. So yeah, Ronnie won, got put up on a podium for first place. Pretty goddamn cool. Pretty fucking cool. Pretty big chungus moment there. Love it.
And the winner of the Golden Gate Games, Mr. Ronnie Ray Smith.
Seems like silliness is a large piece of these funerals, whether it's intentional or not. I can't help but find it absolutely I'm getting silly and I'm putting out silly. I think it's silly and it's making me feel silly, and I kind of like it. I think this should be like a thing, I think. I want to say. I don't know if it's disrespectful. I know a lot of people probably would be like, oh God! Old people and stuff, they get crazy about death and, you know, caskets and whatnot. I think it's funny though. I watched this and I was like, wow, that's really cool. My mom said she just wants to get burnt in a field. I'm gonna send her around the track. She don't have a choice. She'll be dead, It's really funny because they have so little time to slap these bad boys together, and they have massive goals for it. It's kind of heartwarming and sweet in a way, and I do think they do a great job of celebrating the people that they're trying to celebrate while also being entertaining for viewers at home. I really don't think there's a lot of learning though. I love this show. It's so awesome. One episode in particular made us feel like it should actually be an episode of Black Mirror. However, the episode in question is one where they turned the funeral into a game show. The funeral is in celebration of Alfred Tip Anderson, a man who loved game shows.
Alfred Tip Anderson.
I want you to try and imagine in your head, picture in your head where this is gonna go. Okay, do that right now. Tip's brother James fondly remembers Tip and how close their family was, never living further than 3 blocks from each other. So it's a really tight-knit family group.
We've always stayed kind of close to each other. We stayed here in Dallas and we stayed within 2 or 3 blocks of each other.
And of all the game shows in which Tip was a fan of, there were quite a few of them. Wheel of Fortune was his absolute favorite. I don't blame him. That shit's fun as f to watch.
What else about Tip?
He loved some game shows.
Which ones would you think he would really be like, hey?
Wheel of Fortune.
Because he got a Vanna White.
So the Golden Gate Boys agree to give Tip a game show themed funeral / homegoing party, going home death celebration thing. They try making a wheel the casket can sit on.
We're trying to make this casket work on this wheel.
This doesn't look very stable. The family has no idea this is in the works. We believe they're gonna be blown away when they see what we have planned.
But building a game show in a matter of days is difficult, and they really are crunched the day of the funeral to get everything ready.
It's the day of the game show funeral, and we're all feeling the crunch.
There are some very funny clips for this part here. The wheel won't spin.
Why isn't it spinning? It's supposed to spin.
Line delivery and memorization isn't what John wants.
Welcome to the #1 TV show on.
Was that your best?
Welcome.
The family is here to celebrate their loved ones' lives. There's no joke about that.
Okay.
They don't have a pastor.
Hey Jerome, Pastor Body's out sick, so we need a replacement for the funeral today. Get here as soon as you can.
The replacement pastor finds out 10 minutes beforehand that the funeral is actually a game show.
Body is sick, so I'm gonna need you to host the game show funeral.
I'm a preacher. I don't host.
No, I'm gonna need you to host the homegoing. No preaching. Host. You're the host.
Okay.
So the name of the show is Say What?
Say what?
So the game show starts off with introducing the host, the guest of honor, Tip, and the contestants.
So let's meet our guest of honor, Tip. Step on down.
Now, why I say this is like an episode of Black Mirror is because they use his casket as the podium for the contestants, and it holds the buzzers. And it's very
Chandra and I
strange.
have done our best to make sure Mr.
Extremely,
Tip's presence is felt here
extremely
today.
odd and slightly unsettling, but also funny. Another addition to this bizarre nature is because the winner of the game show will be receiving Tip's belongings, such as his watch.
That is a watch that Tip used to wear.
The questions, by the way, are Tip-related trivia, and by getting the answers right, you get the prize. You know a little bit about Tip, you can get his shit. You're a beneficiary if you just know a little bit, if you just listen to him.
What was Tip's favorite game at family reunions?
Dominoes.
Watching this, my immediate fear is, what if no one is able to answer these questions? That would be really embarrassing, but they did fine. They did very well, actually. Then they put Tip's casket on the big wheel and spun it. It landed on Salvation, so Tip's playing all the game shows he can dream of up in heaven with God and the angels and Jesus, I guess. I just really can't stress enough how preposterous some of the ideas that they had in this show were. Really wild stuff. That's bold. Bold move. Ironically, they got a guy that loved candy. They had a funeral for him. This could be me. This could be me. Go to sour.gg and buy some candy, by the way. Okay, we're probably still in stock. We could probably restock by the time we finish this video, bitch. They had a funeral for a fella that loved candy. They dipped his casket in chocolate, and people ate it off the casket. That's insane. They also turned a breakfast lover's funeral into a breakfast buffet. That's also insane.
When let us know you can have breakfast.
I have no idea why a show like this would only get one season when it's got so much going on. I would love to see more of this. Why was it canceled? I can kind of imagine why, potentially, but you know, relax, liberal. It's dark humor. I would also like to know who exactly propositioned who in regard to this television show. Did TLC reach out to the Golden Gate Funeral Home and be like, hey, we'd like to give you a reality show? Or did John Beckham Jr. reach out with a pilot episode saying, we do crazy funerals, you should give us a show? It's probably that. Probably the latter. I'd also be curious to know what the Learning Channel was trying to teach people with a show like Best Funeral Ever. Funerals don't have to be sad, maybe, is what they were trying to teach. Maybe the fact that there is a better way to remember your lost loved ones. Fact, because we can see it from the show, it did teach me that. Maybe you don't need to mourn them. Maybe you can just have fun and humiliate them after death. Or maybe here's a way you can get away with making crazy ass parties a business expense that you can claim on your taxes. As you probably imagine, the show received a lot of skepticism upon its launch. Understandably, I'd say, due to the intriguing premise, but it still is an epic part of the TLC Iceberg. So yeah, it's pretty cool. A lot of time has passed since this show came out. Is the Golden Gate Funeral Home still around? Well, now in 2024, 11 years after the show aired, it's still around. But they've had some drama, TBH. Back in 2022, they were sued by 17 different families for mishandling remains.
Golden Gate has been known for throwing these extravagant, over-the-top, out-of-the-box funerals, many of which were shown on its TLC show several years back. It spanned 2 seasons. This is a huge operation both here in Texas and Louisiana, but now 17 families are coming forward to sue.
Not exactly the funnest thing to be sued by about when you're a funeral home, or the most fun group of people to be sued by when you're a funeral home. Bad. Big L. One mother lost her son to a motorcycle accident, and after going to the Golden Gate Funeral Home for a funeral service as well as cremation for her son, she allegedly had terrible experiences with them.
In my contract, I picked out a red urn, probably about that big.
But things quickly didn't feel right. She says Golden Gate wouldn't return calls or emails, and it took almost 2 months to receive her son's ashes.
They wouldn't return calls, emails, anything like that. Took her 2 months to get her son's ashes, and when she did finally get them, they brought out one urn and then brought out another one.
They go back there and they bring the urn out and hand it to me. Then in a minute, the guy that does the cremations, he said, "Hold on, here's your other one." And I said, "Why do I have another urn?" Both of them are tremendously heavy. I mean, heavy, heavy.
Her lawsuit alleges that the urns contain ashes from at least 3 adults and that neither urn has identification, a violation of the Texas Health and Safety Code.
So, not that big of a fan of the Golden Gate Funeral Home. Unfortunately, they kind of fell off. Another lawsuit says that a woman showed up for her mother's viewing and found her still in a hospital gown with no makeup and partially decomposed.
In a separate lawsuit, another client alleges she showed up for her mother's viewing to find her still dressed in a hospital gown without any makeup or cosmetics and partially decomposed.
She goes all out for some people, but it seems like the average person that just wants to come and have a humble celebration of their mother or their son's life is just kind of left there.
I can't even fucking fathom that. That's got to be traumatizing. You know, hopefully that's not true, but there's a lawsuit stating it. The response from Golden Gate in regard to all of this was one, reinforcing their dedication to providing quality services and compliance with standards and regulations in the state of Texas. And, you know, sending people out with a bang. But that claim from Golden Gate is a stark difference from the experience another woman who turned over her father to Golden Gate Funeral Home had with them. Nikia Webster told D Magazine that when she went for the viewing after her father's death, she was in a large room surrounded by other bodies and mourners with only a small partition separating them. So it was like a buffet of deceased people. Plus, the partitions and buffet style hangout were unable to prevent the smell of decomposing bodies from one of the other groups from permeating every other groups that were in the partitioned off area. Terrible, dude. So hard to even think about. They also said that the Golden Gate Funeral Home employees would spray Lysol around the room in a poor attempt to mask the smell. Nikia also inspected her father's remains, and while he appeared fine, she noticed that no one had bothered to clean his fingernails, which is like a pretty important thing you do when embalming someone. Try to make them seem alive again. I say just me up, dude. If I die, just fucking rotten. Present me as a pile of teeth, fingernails, connective tissue. No nervous tissue, no skeletal tissue, just separate all the important shit out. When Nikia arrived for the funeral the next day, there were still many issues. There was dirty tissues from another funeral. They didn't play the music that Nikia had requested. They handed her another family's DVD slideshow on the way out. They suck, it seems like. Golden Gate seems to have really fallen off hard after their peak, beautiful prime time back in 2013, 2014. What a fall off. That sucks. Loser. Nikia would then spend the next several weeks trying to contact Johnny Beckwith Jr., but she never heard back. She wanted to talk about how poorly everything had gone and see why, and maybe see if there's some consideration or some level of reconciliation or some other word that I don't really know what it means, and then I just say it and it sounds smart. But alas, all was not well for Nikia. Months later, after moving on, she realized that she never even received her father's ashes, which is also terrible. The people at Golden Gate seem to be pretty extravagant people, living high-profile lives. In spite of all this drama and all these haters, it seems like, They posted to YouTube showing off their lineup of expensive cars less than a year ago, titled, "We Thank You." So they thank people for spending exorbitant amounts of money on funerals so they can buy expensive cars and clothes, I guess. I don't really know. I know my uncle is a very wealthy man, but he's got a good funeral home. His funeral home's pretty cool. If I die, I want to go there. But he won't be. I'm sure he'll die before me, so maybe not. The pricing section on the Golden Gate Funeral Home's website paints a really full picture. You can have a presidential funeral for $80,000. What the f does that mean? Whatever that means. If it's too expensive for you, you can always get the reinforced cardboard option. That's nice, dude. You might as well just throw people in the ocean and shit. Why not just let you get eaten by wolves or something fun? Return back to the earth. Yeah, shit's expensive though. Dying is really expensive, it seems like. I think they're so expensive with Golden Gate specifically because old Johnny Beckwith Jr. needs to pay off the 7 limos and 8 escort vehicles, the SWAT team, as well as all of his student debt from all of his schooling and accomplishments as genius, awesome master of our time has. He loves flaunting on the about section of his website. It's really embarrassing. This is wild. What a rabbit hole. But lest we forget, our Lord and Savior, Johnny Beckwith Jr. has a degree in applied science and funeral services. He also has a bachelor's degree of science and funeral service management. What is that? How's that even possible? Along with a master's and doctorate in theology. Guy is very smart and spiritual. Plus, he's a licensed embalmer as well as an insurance agent. Lest we forget he graduated from the Dallas Police Academy. Our brother in Christ is a licensed officer in the state of Texas. He apparently has the rank of Captain Deputy Constable at the Dallas County Precinct 1. He's also a firearms instructor. He seems like a cool guy, honestly. All these things are pretty lit. Plus, he claims to be a commissioned admiral in the Texas Navy. He's got a lot going on. How the does he do all this shit? He might as well just focus on either one of those things. Seems like you could live a whole life focusing on any of those things and maybe make the funeral stuff less shitty so people aren't having their lives ruined and the memories of their loved ones when they're dying ruined. That would be better to focus on that one, I think. Also, if you look him up, you can find his obituary, which is a bit bizarre, along with a bunch of headlines about him being accused of desecrating remains, which is not good to be accused of. I think that's like some Skyrim shit. Like, I didn't know you could even do that in real life. But, oh well. Anyways, part 2 coming very soon. It gets insane. We got a lot of shit to talk about. The deepest level of the iceberg is unbelievable.